What's up? What's up? We're back with another session of the Sisters in Therapy podcast. And today, like every other day, we're going to be talking about mental health related topics.
Yep.
Today is a good one. Like, it's just the basic of it all, self care. What it is, what it ain't.
Hello.
Okay? So I'm going to define self care.
Okay.
A radical, multifaceted practice of nurturing one's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well being. I would also add financial, and social and recreational to those dimensions. But what would you add? Or
I mean, I think saying multifaceted kind of encompasses how complex it is.
Yes.
But not in a bad way, that it's just so many options to practice self-care.
That is literally, you have to practice self-care in every single aspect of your life.
Yes.
Anything your life touches, anything that is a part of your life
Yes.
requires self-care.
I used to have my own definition for self care, self love, and all those. Like,
You remember it?
What is it, girl?
self love is the feeling or the belief that I am worthy of self care, and then self care would be the activities that I do to nurture self love, and then self discipline is me doing these things even when I don't want to because I know they are going to benefit my wellness. So those three to me all go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I think
To
so.
me.
I think that was important whenever we talk about self-care, because so many
Yes.
times when we talk about self-care, people look at self-care as optional or something that doesn't absolutely have to be done. It's the last thing on the list.
I don't have time for it.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
or
when
it's
you-
too expensive, you
Or
know.
it's too-
Right.
expensive, yeah.
But when you add that self-discipline of doing these things anyways, it makes it an essential, something that you have to do to maintain your well-being, which is important because usually when we don't do these things, that's what leads to increased depression, anxiety, and all those other symptoms.
Imbalance. It leads
Yeah.
to imbalance.
Right.
And we're speaking like highly of this, but we do understand how hard it is to
absolutely.
nurture self-care into a lifestyle. It's very challenging.
I think absolutely, and I think to your point about like the self-discipline, I think people have to sort of shift their perspective on what discipline means. Discipline doesn't have to apply to consequences. It's just a practice to being consistent with something,
Yes.
right? I think that might help sort of alleviate the stress that it has to look a particular way or that you have to be so strict about it. It's multifaceted.
You mentioned barriers. What have you seen as some of the barriers for yourself personally, and what have y'all seen professionally as barriers for self-care?
Barriers. I don't know if this is barrier, but there's just so many things to do. I kind of get like not overwhelmed, but like an excited, overwhelming feeling of like I want to try so many different things. But I have to, for it to be consistent for me, I have to, like we talked about in a previous session about routine and structure. That is certainly, I'm learning that is a part of my self-care. And the barrier to that is when I'm not consistent, when I'm not getting enough rest, when I'm pulled in so many different directions that I'm choosing to be pulled into. But I forgot where I was going with that. But I know when I fall off, that's usually like a barrier for me.
It sounds like the lack of sleep is a barrier for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big time.
I think I've seen that as a barrier professionally and probably personally for me. Sleep is typically the first thing people want to let go of, or the thing they don't think they need the most. It is essentially the best thing that you need.
Yes.
Not
It's like a computer restarting.
But if you don't get enough sleep, there's literally a sticky substance that form at the top of your brain that can cause delirious hallucinations and all these things. It's a real thing.
Yeah. People said a long time ago it can be worse than driving drunk, like sleep
Yes.
deprivation.
Yes,
If
it's
I don't
actually
get nothing, I'm
illegal
getting
now for
sleep.
truck drivers. I think it's illegal now for truck drivers if they drive under sleep deprivation or something like that. Other barriers to self-care for clients, definitely like just the financial pressure and capitalism, just irrational job responsibilities and expectations and job shifts. That is probably the biggest one because people are too exhausted to care for themselves in ways
Right.
that it's meaningful because they're so tired when they get home from work.
Exactly.
That's probably the biggest one for me.
And it's
What do you do
viewed-
with that?
I think it's very hard and complicated to really address when like we've been so ingrained into this system to comply with,
Yeah.
right? And I think
As a act of survival.
correct. And I think it goes back to encouraging doing the smallest of the smallest things that still influence some sense of self-care.
Yes.
Drinking more water, stepping away from the computer, maybe taking a quick little walk, whether it be around
Yes.
your apartment or just walk around your neighborhood really quick.
All that self-care.
All of that is self-care, and I think people have to I think maybe another barrier would be not thinking about them. Let me rephrase. Thinking at self-care has to be like these fireworks of an experience when it could be the simplest of the simplest tasks.
Well, I mean, like you just said, there's so much to do,
Yeah.
which would give people anxiety.
Yeah.
Sometimes self-care is taking a nap.
Yeah.
Something
Resting.
as simple as that. Daydreaming. Reading a book. What barriers have you seen, T? Personally and professionally?
I would say professionally is definitely time because
Yes.
a big one.
capitalism, so people do work a lot and the majority of your day is spent trying to survive. And so the one thing I do for that is like, how are we not perpetuating this ideology of this capitalist system whenever we come home? Like, are you still spending your time, energy, mental effort on this place?
Yes, I am. I work for myself.
Okay, well, at that point, I feel like then you're giving it too much. You're giving it more than what it's giving you, and you have to find some time to separate from that, because I think that contributes to exhaustion as well. Not
does.
just holding the time and space, but letting it continue to take up the space in our life, even when you're outside of it.
That's hard. And I think that was hard for me, definitely, like, in my, like, first graduate as a new professional, especially, like, graduating college and getting into the profession. We're like, oh, my God, I got a job, and that job is draining you.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're at home and you're still drained because you can't stop thinking about how bad this job is. And so that is so hard.
Oh, yeah. It was a hard lesson learned for me. It took a while.
Now that's why I think we talked about this before, having that hard switch from work and how to turn it off. It is very important to have some type of debriefing or relaxation activity in between.
So self-boundaries will be a part of that,
Professional self-care.
right? Right. But
So,
having
yes.
the boundaries, like creating some sense of boundaries with yourself, like I need to close this computer.
Absolutely.
I need to move to another room. Something like
Or
that.
just
too.
stop checking emails. What people really need to understand is that you not checking your email, the company is not going to burn down.
Exactly. But that's so hard for people.
Yes, it is.
It is.
We ain't going to talk about where it come from.
It's hard, and people know it. But I think that's a big barrier as well. But I feel like that barrier is something that we have a little bit more control over.
Yeah.
Is turning our attention from that to something different.
I don't want to talk about why is that hard for Black people.
I mean, come on now, slavery.
The need to be so busy.
Because you've been taught you got to do everything 2-3 times harder just to be seen as just as good, just to have worth, just to be seen, and sometimes it is true, just to get a job, just to be able to be in spaces. So sometimes that is the reality.
And I mean, and it's something that we just kind of been told, like you just said, that you just got to work harder, and that hard work pays off. I don't like that saying.
Yeah.
I don't either, because what is it paying? Because it hasn't. You're exhausted, and there are consequences to this type of ideology.
I think it depends on how you view it, right? Like, all of us have to do some sense of hard work, but it's self-sacrificing. I think that's where it goes a bit far.
I think we got to do some level of smart work. When I learned that, somebody taught me that there's a difference between smart work and hard work. Now, hard work is hard work, sure. Work is, and I'm not saying we're going to avoid the work. I'm just saying there has to be smart work, and then there's hard work. You can be running and not going anywhere. That's hard work. You're not being productive. Smart work is actually, I guess, being intentional with what you're doing, kind of like the self-care, or if you need to just set aside some time to, I am going to spend an hour doing this. That's a boundary. I'm going to cut that off and I'm going to go to something else. I think you can still get stuff done without sacrificing your wellness.
Right.
I agree. And I feel like sometimes we do that because we make the emphasis not be on work and more about how people are going to recognize our work, which we want people to see. So we're constantly working in overdrive because we want to be seen, or we want this type of validation in the workspace, when often the reward for hard work is more work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're showing them that you're good at it.
Yeah.
Showing that you're good at it. Yeah.
You don't need to do that. You need to do that.
You don't need to do that. I have personally experienced and then professionally heard my clients say this have been their experience, whether they're men or women in the workplace, is that if you are single without children, that they will put extra work on you because they don't think that you have any other responsibilities. And I think that is crazy.
It's terrible.
That is a thing.
But it's a thing.
What makes people think that because you're not a parent that you don't got nothing to do?
I mean, it's just like this whole societal view of like that's supposed to be the American dream, right? So like the
Nothing
idea.
wrong with the American dream.
Well, it's not that attainable. That's what's wrong with it. But even with people with promotions, right? Like I've had clients talk about like they've had to like work harder for promotions because like the image in the corporate world is a married couple with kids, and so like that is the image even to for presidency, right? Like there's this image of it's a man, he's married, they have kids. That's like the perfect image. So it's constantly perpetuated, unfortunately.
I feel like if I'm at a school somewhere, this ain't none of your business if I
I
got
agree.
kids and what they got to do with how much work I do. I'm getting off when everybody else get off.
Hello, and you got to know that for yourself, because again,
Exactly.
if not, people will put you in a box.
Mm-hmm.
People will put you in a box, but again, you have to know for yourself that that doesn't mean anything about you or how much work you should or shouldn't be
Right.
offering. Because when people give that to you, we oftentimes accept it,
Yes.
and we're saying, "Oh, okay, well, this is the box I fall in. I do have more time," and you buy into it, you internalize it. No,
Okay.
No.
So that's not a component of self-care and caring for oneself.
No.
Willingly stepping into boxes that people have placed you in.
yes, please don't do it.
Don't
Do it. Okay.
All right, so for y'all, what have y'all seen as like superficial self-care versus like maybe some meaningful? What is this look?
I try to think because
Child.
for whatever reason, my
Truth
my mind went directly to like when people control is not self care. Like people confuse what boundaries are meant for. I don't feel like talking about it. This is my self care, so I set a boundary. That's not how that works. I think that is a barrier.
I think you said superficial self-care.
Yeah.
I think that's superficial,
Okay.
at least for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess when I think about superficial self-care, not that these things can be self-care, but anytime I ask any woman about their self-care, they say they nails, their hair,
It is.
and going shopping for retail therapy.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope one, I think.
It is a slippery slope.
It's
So
very
can,
slippery.
That
can
one's
y'all
something.
distinguish like what makes it maybe more meaningful self-care versus what might make it superficial self-care?
That's a good question. I think what is happening around the time that you will have this impulse to shop, right? Like, that's why it's such a slippery slope. Because what you said maybe the session before you, like, the depression goes away when we get our hair done. Like,
It does. It goes away when they go shopping too.
I know, that's why it's such a slippery slope. I think when you're putting yourself in a financial bind as a result of this self-care,
Get a
then
new
we
one.
need to reconfigure some things because
Yeah.
you're adding more stress. And the point of self-care is to alleviate and have a more balanced life.
It's a short-term fix in regards to if you are putting yourself in a financial bind, because you can't feel the fact that you're going to be in a financial bind in that moment. But going shopping and buying yourself things, absolutely, it feels good. But that's not all that self-care is.
Right.
That is absolutely how you care for yourself, but you have to have some depth
For sure.
to your care for
Some
yourself.
introspection, all of that, yeah.
Say more. What would that depth?
The depth would be, am I going shopping because I just feel really bad right now, or am I going shopping because it's something I want to do right now?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I
Just
think that's the
having
main
that dialogue
difference.
with yourself, and if that's true, then just tell yourself, okay, girl, you need to go buy yourself one pair of shoes, and then you need to get the hell up out this store and go on and do something else and handle this issue. But introspect is just like knowing, your why. Your why. Why am I doing this? People don't sit with the why that they're doing this.
Yeah, they're just doing it.
They're just doing
and
it.
a lot of times it's impulsive.
I mean, other things would be like, I guess, food indulgence, or just eating, just like eating the whole thing of like ice cream, and then just like, oh my God, I feel so bad that I ate that. Catch yourself. I mean, have one bowl of ice cream, or just don't have ice cream at all. If you're eating it, I don't believe that. So that's something I've done for myself.
Okay.
I don't believe that if I feel bad, I'm having a bad day, I should have a drink. I don't want to reward myself with a drink because I'm having a bad day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that is the main difference between like superficial versus
Happy hour
actual
is not
meaningful
self-care.
Yeah,
me.
like impulsive
But
behaviors.
it depends. Again, if you're looking at the motivation behind it.
Okay.
If I'm doing it to cope
Yeah. You gotta
and it's an absolute
differentiate.
must, then this might be some superficial or some avoidance
You're right.
activity versus
It's true.
no, it's a good week. I feel good.
Let me hit up my girls. Let's meet up for happy hour.
It's been a
Yes.
while. Then yeah, that's some self-care. Like I have the time, I have the space now. This is going to be enjoyable. I'm going to have a drink. But it's not, I'm not escaping anything.
Right.
It doesn't have any deeper meaning other than this space with these people is going to feel good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think all of those things, whether eating, drinking, shopping, they can be self-care, but it has to be done responsibly.
Of course.
It has to be done responsibly. But those are the big three that what people think self-care is. Oh, and working out. But they think that is definitely self-care. Shopping, drinking, and eating.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because we are a country that loves to eat food. And that's how we celebrate. It's how we do a lot of things. And it's a part of our culture here.
Yeah. Okay. I would also think it's a slippery slope, especially like you were saying, if drinking ends up being the default, that ends up being a behavior where like it might be 1 day a week, then it might be 2. This is my self care, and then it's 3, then it's 4. So like it ends up being like a mudslide.
It can be. And I definitely have clients who this is their answers to the questions that I ask them. And so then I have to ask them, okay, what are you trying to numb with the drinking?
Right.
And we need to explore that feeling so you can be more comfortable with it instead of trying to use the alcohol to drown this feeling out.
Yes.
Right.
Or the thoughts that you're having about something. And I actually just believe that, sometimes it's stress from the job. Just being, I think that people being unhappy, they just getting up and doing the same thing over and over again for the next couple of years, you just get tired.
And
Add some spice to your life.
I was going to say, I think that's one of the red flags that maybe your self-care isn't working, is that if you still kind of, you're carrying the same amount of stress, you're still feeling unfulfilled, just don't feel like you're enjoying life. And
Right.
it's very short-lived. Your
Yeah.
self-care might not be serving you in the way that's
Right.
most meaningful.
And if the job stress is the reason why you are drinking, then that would mean that the multifaceted practice of nurturing one's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and career, you are nurturing too much of the career. You have to nurture something else. Like you're giving too much to the career, kind of like you said. So this is an example of how giving too much to one thing can lead to you overcompensating with a negative coping skill.
Right.
Not that drinking is negative, but if it's in the response to, I'm trying to numb out a
Stressors.
feeling.
Right. Exactly.
Let's talk about that, though, because there are consequences to not practicing self-care or
Very much
practicing
so.
self-care in ways that may not be the most
Self-care.
helpful. Yeah. So what have y'all seen as some of the consequences of not practicing self-care?
More anxiety, more stress, not getting enough rest. Friendships aren't doing well because, like you said, they're either solely focused on career. Those would be my few.
I think some consequences that I've seen would definitely be a car wreck, not getting enough sleep, kind of being a little bit just delirious behind the wheel, or just being not just tired and being so a car wreck, and then just the end of relationships. That's probably the biggest one.
And life feeling monotonous for them, like it feels. I'm doing this. It's like rinse, wash, repeat. I'm doing the same thing over and over. I feel bored with my life, which kind of goes into my point of like I think we also have to change the way that we view fun, right? People have said like the club culture has taken over what fun could actually mean when you could just like switch up or expand or try something new. I think that is also a barrier of only thinking that fun is getting a drink.
Yes,
Or smoking and things
that
like
is
that.
a conversation that has been in my therapy room. And you said, what are the consequences to some? So some of the consequences is digging yourself into a financial hole, such as a large credit card bill.
Yeah.
But then this goes back to kind of just. So what have you seen, T? We'll talk. We got to remember to put the question back on you too.
That's all right. The same thing, mostly just relationships suffering because I see blaming and sometimes projecting, making that self-care another person's responsibility.
Yes.
Your happiness and your fulfillment being another person's responsibility. Somewhat of a victim or a learned helplessness mindset sometimes. So.
Okay. I think the biggest challenge for people is not understanding that this is their responsibility and theirs alone.
Yeah.
Other people can be a part of like the things that make you feel cared for, the things that make you feel whole, the things that make you feel well. But this assertion that we have the responsibility to care for ourselves is is ours. Like,
Yes.
this is mine.
Yes.
Nobody else is going to care for me the way that this is the relationship that I will have for the rest of my life. Therefore,
Right.
it has to be mine.
has to be.
Right. And I think even as a result of that, the way that we participate in relationships,
In all relationships. Personally, professionally.
yes, they either become better or you end up losing some. Maybe you might have to because you are honing in on what you need. And I do think you begin to remove what no longer serves where you're at because you're dedicating more time to yourself, I think.
It can catch you off guard, especially
Yeah.
if you're like goal oriented and ambitious, ambitious.
Yeah.
When you're ambitious, it can catch you off guard because you find it caught me off guard, like as an entrepreneur and trying to like get my name out there in regards to like taking on more than I needed to in regards to showing up, volunteering my services and doing all these things. I have to sit with myself as a therapist and say, okay, everything can't be free. This is your time.
Right.
Some things will be free and I have no
Right.
problem with that, but everything can't be free.
Or
I
a
think-
priority.
or a priority, especially like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed. I'm taking on
Right.
too much. So just being very careful with what I take on. So many, DMs and text messages and emails about collaborating. But yeah, sometimes you just got to know that ain't operating in my zone of genius and I don't need to take that on. And I was operating under the fear of, dang, these people might never want to work with me again.
Like the fear of missing out.
Right.
That's a good segue.
Yes.
Yeah, the fear of missing out, or just the fear of ruining the relationship.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm like, I don't think this serves my business at this moment.
Right.
I don't have, but I
So
respectfully
time management
decline.
is
Yes.
self-care.
Time management is definitely self-care. I was giving too much of myself, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. But
He said it was almost the FOMO.
I don't think I was in fear of missing out on the opportunity. I was just a fear that how these people would see me because I like to keep my word, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I accepted it, and then I was like, I don't think I have the time to do this. So then I had to decline. So for me, it wasn't about FOMO. It was about I like to be a woman
Yeah.
of my word.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That's valid.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me think about FOMO. Because one of my clients mentioned, and of course I can't shout her out because HIPAA, but she mentioned this thing about this revelation that she made of having FOMO with her past self. And it really struck a chord with me because I feel like so many clients I've seen struggle with FOMO of their past selves.
100%.
The way they used to practice self-care, the way they used to be able to go and spend and have time here and do this and that. And now they don't have access to those things anymore. And so they keep saying, I want to get back to my old self. I want to do this. I want to do that. And baby, that's not the life you're living anymore.
Right.
That is a thing for people. It's a hard reality.
It
People
is.
want to get back to how they used to look in a picture. Just those, and it makes sense because maybe you felt good at that time. But if you really go back and think about it, you was finding something challenging during that time.
Exactly.
As well. It's
Yeah.
just that now they just seem easier to say. They seem like the easiest solution to get back to. I think that means people are limiting their vision of what their future could be.
Yes.
It's a limiting perspective about
Okay.
what's in front of you.
Yeah,
Right.
and we're lacking imagination.
Lacking of imagination.
Right. What did Rest is Resistance? She said a grieving life is a healing life. And I think to your point about like FOMO of the past self.
Patricia Hersey, that is.
Yes, we want to, and I understand like we want some sense of familiarity or security, but like there are chapters that get closed whether we realize it or not at every
Yes.
stage and every transition because
100%.
like we change
It's called growth.
all the time. And I understand wanting to like hold on to something, but like things are different.
And it's all that, but just picture yourself as a plant. That's like holding on to dead roots.
Right.
You gotta replant and bloom somewhere else. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think because people
Reroute.
want to be a finished product, the fact that there is additional work, it's like, damn, I kind of want to be done. But
I
like
get
your
it.
life doesn't have to be about healing all the time. It's just, okay, I'm just different because I'm
So
in a
what-
different place.
So what is a day of ease like for you ladies? Let's just Takesha, I think you're the perfect person to answer this question. What is a day of ease like for you?
Well, let's see. I'm going to get up.
Okay.
I'm going to chill with my puppy.
Okay.
I'm going to probably have me a cup of coffee. Because I'm a person that appreciates a slow morning.
Me too.
So sit some time, like really, really have some time with myself to ground myself to the day. I think I used to have this thing that I say to myself is that like you are worthy just because you woke up today. Like it doesn't require anything of you. You are here. You are awake. You are worthy.
Okay.
And so starting my day off with something like that, maybe journaling or reading, just some type of slow, creative or expressive thing to kind of get my day started. Maybe a coffee shop, hang out with the girls, laugh. It's always going to have reading and it's always going to have coffee and my puppy. And kind of any kind of combination of that is going to feel like a easy, breezy day to me.
Love that.
No matter if I have to do chores in the meantime, because sometimes that's a part of the self-care practice, but there's still ease throughout my day because I'm going to pause because I'm not going to rush.
Right.
Some of my friends say, I don't know why it take you that long, baby, because I take my time.
Even if you give her the time to be there on time.
First off, I've been doing better with that.
So much better.
You have.
Let me
Actually,
just,
very proud of
Thank
you.
you.
So much better.
Acknowledging. Y'all have not
I'm
acknowledged
like,
that
dang,
yet.
she
Thank
pull it
y'all.
up.
You are definitely on time.
I didn't
Because
feel
we got
off.
some late friends. I ain't gonna call no names.
I mean, you can say I am.
I ain't
child.
talking about you.
Okay, because I do be late. I ain't gonna hold you.
I'm not talking about you.
What's the ease? I love moving slow. And I have to remind myself to move slow. Like, hold on, let's stop for a second. Which is why I know it's an expensive hobby and I've really been selective with what I buy. But like doing puzzles or building Lego, like just in that moment, it's just something satisfying about doing something with my hands or like building something. And when what was it, last week? I was just drinking coffee and building this little car and I was just watching TV and chilling. Now, every day is not going to look like that. So, like, even just the experience of slow, I think I could do that more if I stick with my routine. Like, when I start my day a little bit earlier, like I used to, that encourages a slowness that feels calming. And so I just have to get back to doing it more. That's literally all.
Sounds like a good morning. Or even coffee and tend to your plants. Make it a
Yeah.
good plant chore day.
Yes.
Some repotting.
Yes.
Your hand in the soil. Oh. What about you, Sadie's?
Why you laugh?
Mercedes moves briskly throughout her days.
Very briskly.
It's her world.
It is.
No, I have slow mornings too. I'm gonna when I get up at 4. I guess that's slow, but the night before has to be slow in order for me to have a slow morning. Because if I'm up
least you
watching
know.
a basketball game all night, today I did not have a slow morning. I woke up all over the place. I'm not gonna hold you, all over the place. But sometimes I have a slow morning, and that looks like not having any clients on a Friday, not waking up at 4, maybe easing into the gym at about 9 a.m. And then Erica come join me on her own time. It just feels slow. It happens randomly. I don't really have a planned slow day. They always are random for me. My days are sometimes super structured. That works for me.
Yeah.
Because when I try to ease into the day gets away from me.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna hold you. Like, I don't know what happened.
Because, like, why is it 4 o'clock already?
I'm
Like, I
like,
don't
I
Why you
understand.
acting like it ran away from you?
It did.
It be feeling like that
The
sometimes.
day gets away
like,
from me. But this is an example how different things work for different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if I try to ease into my morning too many times, nothing will get done. I operate better when I wake up early, about 4, and get to the gym about 5, and I'm done about 6:30, and then I'm like fixing me some breakfast and get to my 10 o'clock session. So I guess that's kind of easing.
I mean, you
getting
give
things
yourself
done.
enough time to do the things
And-
that you want to do. So
And
yes.
I'm not driving to the gym anymore, so now I'm walking to the gym. So it's
Nice.
even more easing into the day because I'm not. Now I know like I can't rush because I'm walking. I'm trying to get there on time, so it's an ease into the day.
Yeah.
So that works for
So
me.
your structure does allow that to happen, but in a way that works for you.
Yes.
It might not be like moving slow, but that you still have time
Yes.
to do what you want to do.
Yes. For
So
the
that's
most part.
good. That's good.
So how do y'all like assess for self-care needs of your clients?
Oh, that's like in the first session. So tell me about your self-care. And I think one of the sessions, the wellness wheel is always like my favorite activity. But when we talk about some things that they've not done in a while or that they've fallen off from, then like clearly there are some things happening that aren't allowing them to dedicate more time to themselves. And one of the main things people say, I just feel all over the place. Like I don't feel like I have control over my life. Like I'm not having fun. So like like I said, when they're removed from things that they used to do or don't find any enjoyment in life anymore, then it's, okay, how can we start to practice autonomy in a way that feels like you're living a life of quality and not a life of just pure survival. Yeah.
Okay. I think I typically ask people what's their relationship like with self-care. And then I ask them, like, what was your mom's relationship like with self-care? That's been a big one for me, especially since learning that there are some mothers and fathers who actually have passed down self-care practices to their children. It's things they did together when they were children, and now they're doing it as an adult, and they still doing it with their parents. And my client is older, her mom is older, and they still are doing these things, such as bowling. There is a particularly large group of Black people in Houston who bowl. It is a really big deal for them, and I love hearing about it.
I just seen Wayne bowling. I did not know that man could bowl.
Lil Wayne,
Yes.
he's smart, and he's very talented at a lot of things.
That's beautiful.
He's disappointing to me.
He is disappointing in other ways, but he's also very smart man.
But I'm glad you brought up that point about like self-care, because now that I think about it, like my parents love watching TV. Like getting in front of TV, watching a game, watching tennis. I don't know if they would necessarily say it's self-care.
No, nobody was calling this self-care.
But it's very much a consistent activity.
Yes.
To where it's like, it's just even watching them, they're just like laughing, watching whatever. The chairs reclined, and they just chilling. And my dad eating peanuts, falling all over the floor, but he's feet kicked up. He's just fine, right? So I'm gonna ask him actually later.
They don't call it self-care. I think
He will flip it and say, "I care for myself."
I don't think people were comfortable even saying self-care, but Audre Lorde was.
Yes, go ahead and talk to us.
I was about to say, culturally, there are activities that Black people have in which we care for ourselves and each other, such as cookouts, and Juneteenth is coming up, so getting together for stuff like that, that's a collective self-care for Black people. Cookouts or just going out to eat, being in each other's company, playing music, talking shit, playing spades.
So you do see that as self-care, you know, a little shit talking.
It's a little love language, you know? Get your game up.
Takesha.
For the record.
These are background things, guys. Ignore us.
Yes, Black people talking shit to each other is a little bit of self-care.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Because we just talked about it.
When you say
Because
sometimes,
it can go far.
it can also lead to some other things.
Yeah.
How do y'all assess for like where you, because Brittany, you just started a new hobby.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Which
I
one?
want to hear about it.
Commentating.
What?
Yes,
Commentating.
You did.
She need to be on ESPN, y'all.
So how did y'all kind of fall into a new hobby or a new type of self-care? And then also how would you encourage or explore that with clients?
This is good because, so one, I don't know how to not be an advocate or an activist. I don't know how to not be that. And so this new self-care came out of me wanting to be an advocate for the WNBA and take back this narrative that actually this is a great league. This is an activist league, which y'all don't know.
Right.
And I saw people making content, but it was negative. And I'm like, I actually want to make content that actually highlight the greatness of this league. And it led to me kind of uploading these videos, and it just took off. And child, I'm having time of my life.
You really are.
Oh my God.
Buckets. Getting buckets.
Do you see the handles?
No, but because I have to find a balance with activism and advocacy because we obviously are conscious women and we care about the people of the world and the oppression and all these things that it could take away your self-care. But I don't want to ever become numb to other humans struggling across this globe. I want to always care about it. So I found this hobby and I'm like, you know what? This is also advocacy for the WNBA, and I'm also having fun.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, I actually try not to talk about any of the drama. I just try to focus on basketball.
Yeah.
I like that.
Let me see. I think I like randomly came across, I was on the right side of TikTok this day.
The right side.
I was. It was like these random videos of Black girls showing like they Lego
I saw that.
rooms. And I was like, that's actually really dope. They're flower bouquets of Lego. Absolutely. And I like, and I think I get this from my dad, like I like fixing things and I like building things. So like that satisfies something in me of like putting something together. And I think just the little girl in me is just happy. Because I know these hobbies can be, I really want to start playing video games again.
Now that I will do. But also, I mean, you got to be able to find you some blocks and Legos at the Five Below.
Yeah, they're going to be Play-Go. But they're going to be something to build. I'm sure there is.
Legos are fun. We was thinking about getting some, but also, like, I believe they're more expensive now because people are buying them. Like, have they always been this expensive?
I think so, but it really depends on, because like the cheapest one I've only done two. The flower bouquet was like $45, but the card that I did was just $20.
I mean,
so
just some
depends.
blocks and a bag of them. I feel like these would be like $34.99.
Probably everything's expensive now.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
probably.
dabble.
But I'm only getting things that I'm decorating my apartment with. Like,
Video
I'm not
games
just-
is something we should do.
Yeah, I want to
been a
get the
while.
handheld because I used to have a PSP, but I'm looking into a Nintendo Switch. So we'll see. I don't know.
I
What
want a
about you,
Sega.
TK?
I want a Sega.
What's that?
Oh my god,
I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
I was a
Lloyd, cut
Dreamcast
this
girly.
Sega Genesis.
I was a Dreamcast girly.
You said take it out.
Yeah, because I don't know what the hell that is.
A Sega. It's just a video game.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. Cut that out though.
Sonic Boom.
I know that.
Okay, it was on Sega. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I don't really have any new self-care
but
practices.
you
I'm
were
just
wanting
doing
to
the
try
same.
something new, right? I thought you wanted to do Lego.
I do want to do that. Well, also a while back I did a DIY of this dresser, this little small dresser
Oh, yeah,
that I
yeah,
had
You're
found.
always doing things.
I am, but it's random. So I'll scrapbook one day. I did a renovation of like I was sanding this dresser down and I painted it and I got some new hardware, little handles for it. It was a fabulous time. And so what led me to wanting to try new things was really just me seeing it and know I want to be creative and I want to try different types of artsy things. And so I always can feel, and I think it is the inner child in me, I can feel when I'm like, I really haven't been expressive or creative, and I know that's a part of me that I need to be conscious about. And so whether that's writing or coloring or painting something, if I haven't done anything for a while, sometimes I'm like, damn, I need to.
Okay.
Like, this is a itch that I haven't scratched in a while, so it needs to come out in one way or another.
Right. And I think there's always like this, at least for me, there's just yearning for nostalgia. So like that's why I don't mind watching cartoons or having that as my background TV.
Okay.
Doing stuff like, because you know, when we were kids, we would play in the sand. We would, you know, we were active all the time. And so like I
100%.
missed nurturing that part of me.
So then, hold on. How is this different from us telling people to not have FOMO with their past selves? Because these are all past activities. I just want to see how that's
Yes, but
different.
that's a very good point. I think it's a little bit different because there's a nurturing component versus, I just want to go back to be that. Are you nurturing that, or you just wanted to go back?
I was just say, there's nothing I'm trying to get back to.
Right.
It could be creative stuff. The dresser was a here and now thing. I've never done anything like that before.
But that, sometimes it is a therapy question. Then what did you used to do?
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
And I think there's a different, like everything, again, what's the motivation?
Yeah, that's a good,
Okay.
Like you said, what's your why? Are you doing it because you're trying to get back to this version of yourself because you were happy then, or this is going to fix something for you? Or is it something that was good then that you're pulling into the present version of yourself?
Because what about this version of you are you not satisfied with? Or you had, I'll just keep that there. I don't know what I was about to say. Just that.
It's okay. So, and I think that goes into like how we help our clients develop self-care practices. Is I know we asked that question of what's something that you used to do before. Is there any other way other than the wellness wheel that y'all like try to encourage clients to explore new or different self-care hobbies?
I think I always start with that one because they get to see on paper like what's not happening. And then there's the conversation of, okay, how can you start nurturing these parts of your wellness that you've not done in a while? And a lot of times a lot of people forget that they used to be super creative, painting, plants, things like that. So like it encourages that. But that's one of my main approaches, I think. I don't think I do anything too drastically different.
I feel like people see stuff all the time that they want to try or things that they want to explore, again, because social media, the internet has everything in the world. And so I see that they have all of these things, but there's always like a barrier to what it would look like to implement it. And so I feel like they have a lot of the groundwork, the things that they want to try. It's really, for me, it's about almost trying to convince them or empower them that they have the right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Because even in seeing it on the wellness wheel doesn't mean that they are influenced enough to do it right. So correct. So like I love that you said like empower them to do it because that's essentially what they need.
I try to keep mine as simple as possible in regards like this does not have to be really that complicated. It's kind of like you just said. if work is a barrier and work is a means of survival, so it's always going to be something with work, what's the smallest thing that you can do right now?
Yes.
Really just zooming in.
Yes.
Zooming in on the things that you have control over.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And, but also, we're so used to, honestly, social media is great until it's not. Everybody is highlighting all these great self-care things that you're thinking that you got to go do all of that as well.
Or it's not self-care.
Yeah.
So just just comparing yourself to other people's self-care practices wouldn't be it, I don't think.
No, not at all. What's that saying? Take what applies and let the rest fly. Like, you could see somebody practicing self-care and be encouraged by it, but your life does not have to follow exactly how they do it because we're all different. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? We're good? Okay, that's a wrap. So go care for yourself.
Go care for yourself.
Go care for yourself.